Hello and welcome to Atop the Fourth Wall, where bad comics burn. Time once again to check in with the children of the damned, the Tandy Computer Whiz Kids! However, the last few have felt a bit repetitive. Let's face it, most of the Tandy Computer Whiz Kids comics follow a pattern. Miss Wilson welcomes the kids back from summer vacation, there are surprises, either someone will give a lecture about drugs, or they'll show off some Tandy products, there's a field trip, somehow this leads to a hostage situation, then the doctor seals the axons into a time loop, and history repeats itself over again in the next comic. And of course, all the while the children cheer and celebrate their overlord, the Tandy Corporation, and their emissary, Miss Wilson, who spreads Tandy's dark message into their souls. But, of course, some of these books did not follow this pattern. Sure, some were still part of the Tandy line, but of particular interest were a group of comics that featured DC heroes and villains. And so we're digging into that well again, with Superman partnered up with small children who will be the true heroes of this story because they know how to use a specific brand of computers. So let's dig into Superman and the TRS-80 Computer Whiz Kids Victory by Computer and see if Superman will be upstaged by two grade schoolers using a computer that lists being able to write lowercase letters as one of its features.
Welcome to Atop the Fourth Wall, where bad comics burn. Linkara's gonna teach you all a lesson you won't learn. Brodsky, you're not the smartest. Life out, you're not an artist. Anyone who's had a bad comic published, it could be your turn. Linkara, he's a man punch, wears a birdie hat. Linkara, he has a magic gun. Where'd he purchase that? Linkara, coins, robots, Amazons and trucks. Linkara, this comic sucks. Linkara. Hey, teacher, leave them kids alone.
The cover is a big old pile of meh. It's just a stock shot of Superman flying with the Whiz Kids at the bottom and a picture of Supergirl in the upper right. And by the way, why the hell does Supergirl have a smaller circle than the Whiz Kids? Look! Up in the sky! It's Superman! Flying off to save Supergirl! Someone's trapped her inside of a tiny circle! Oh no, it's happened to us too! Let's help him out with our TRS-80 microcomputers! Oh, for the love of Tandy, Shanna, get off the computer! Are we in the Phantom Zone? What's happening to us? We open in class, where Superman is leaving and... Wait, Miss Wilson, you were Supergirl the whole time? No, of course not. That'd actually be a really cool plot twist, and we can't have that. But yeah, Superman is heading out. So long, kids. I have to fly off on a mission, but my cousin Supergirl is here to tell you all about the incredible world of microcomputers. Superman, I have all the same powers you do. Shouldn't I come and help you? No, Kara. You're my secret weapon. That means you do all the public appearances that I can't be bothered with. Away!
Oh, wow! The mightiest girl on Earth right here in our classroom! And she's gonna give us a sales pitch! Wowzers!
Go to it, Supergirl! We're all yours! Dance for us, monkey! Dance! Supergirl is in the outfit she wore for a good chunk of the 70s, and it's a personal favorite of mine. There's just something about the baggier sleeves and the S-shield placed more like a Star Trek comm badge that gives it a very unique look while still tying it to the Superman family. She actually went through a crap ton of costume designs from her introduction through to her death, some even shown off as fan concepts for new outfits. It's a pretty cool idea, actually. Certainly more imaginative than anything the Whiz Kids can offer. Let's visit a certain elementary school classroom on the outskirts of Metropolis, where a recess has been called. It's only 11 o'clock and already 3 kids have had to be sedated after the 33rd consecutive day of lectures about drugs caused them to start screaming uncontrollably.
Wonder why Miss Wilson was called to the business office. Maybe some kind of official school business.
Miss Wilson, I need to ask you about these expense reports. You've been ordering new Tandy products almost every day. What's happening to the old ones? Certainly not going into my vans for resale on Saturday nights, that's for sure. Miss Wilson instructed the kids to keep looking out the window while she was gone. Everything that the light touches will be yours, children, as long as you obey me.
Hey, all of a sudden I'm starting to hear a whooshing sound.
And seeing whoosh sound effects right outside the window. Another kid figures it must be windy outside, but one says that can't be it since the leaves on the trees are still. Except if the implication is that Superman and Supergirl are flying towards the building slower than the speed of sound, but still fast enough for the kids to hear it, shouldn't the sound be affecting the leaves? Finally spotting what's approaching, the kids step back as our heroes fly through the window, Superman going in legs first, and Supergirl flying in face first and probably slamming into the opposite wall. One student wonders what the hell makes their class so special as to warrant a visit.
That's because you were absent the last time Miss Wilson invited Superman to visit us, Mindy, when the Man of Steel dropped in, carrying 2 black boxes that turned out to be TRS-80 microcomputers.
Yeah, still doesn't explain why the hell it's your class that's so special. Unless Soups is on the outs with Lois right now and is seeing Miss Wilson in the meantime.
In fact, Alec and I gave Superman an assist in capturing a master criminal with the help of those TRS-80 microcomputers Superman brought.
Shanna is referring to the events of The Computer Masters of Metropolis, which I reviewed back in 2011. For a reminder, that's the one where Superman needed 2 6th graders to tell him, fly under a plane to stop it from crashing, but only at this exact angle and this exact speed.
Excuse me, Superman. Last time you brought along a TRS-80 under each arm, but it looks like you brought nothing along to show us. You better have brought me something, super dork, or else you're getting a Shanna shakedown.
Now, Shanna, you're letting the limits of what you can see confuse you.
You mean you're juggling something so fast it's invisible?
Hey guys, I'm juggling chainsaws right now. I'm just moving so fast you can't tell. What, you can't prove I'm not? No, it turns out the two are keeping stuff in those pockets they have in the lining of their capes.
The new TRS-80 pocket computer.
Wow, a glorified calculator! I kid, but it was apparently very impressive back in the day, especially because it could actually program in BASIC. That being said, it's also just a rebranding of another pocket computer, the Sharp PC-1211. I originally wrote a longer thing here, being confused at the actual value of this thing even back in 1981, but I'm sure if I did, I'd get a long screed about computing back in the day. Let's just say back in my day, we had TI-83s that played Tetris on them, and we liked it, dagnabbit. But anyway, the kids are impressed by them, and Supergirl points out that the tiny little things in their hands can basically do all the things a room-sized computer from the 40s could, which, yeah, just goes to show how far we've come. Now I can waste time much more efficiently by playing 2048 instead of doing real work. Now to demonstrate some of the problems these tiny computers can solve, Great Krypton! The pocket computer can travel back in time and save Krypton! Superman flies off, a result of some emergency that he could sense with his powers.
Which is why Superman asked me to come along on this visit to your class, so I could bring you up to date on computers and how they're being used.
I get to play babysitter instead of saving lives! Isn't that grand?
I hope you don't mind.
Are you kidding? How could we mind having the mightiest girl on Earth as a guest in our classroom?
It's unanimous, Supergirl! We're all yours!
Ha 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 ha! Oh, kids, you don't get a vote in this. This is above and beyond the call of duty, Supergirl. We really appreciate it.
My pleasure. Just between us, I'm a teacher and student advisor in my secret identity, so I'm pretty comfortable in a classroom.
And then it was revealed that Miss Wilson was working with Lex Luthor this whole time, and you gave away the whole ballgame, Kara. Actually, that would make way too much sense. Speaking of, that's who Superman is flying off to handle. Lex Luthor is in a special cell that Supes designed, but Lex has announced that he'll escape within 12 hours. With the help of an accomplice. Damn it, Dr. Octopus, didn't you learn your lesson the last time you teamed up with him? No, indeed, Lex claims that the accomplice who will help him is Superman himself. Supes arrives at the prison and does a scan of the cell, but all the defense mechanisms are still intact. Don't relax too much, Superman, unless you are naive enough after all these years to believe that Lex Luthor makes threats he cannot keep. There are 40 cakes with my name on them, Superman. Back at the school, Miss Wilson has to, oh, for the love of, unveil a surprise. You couldn't do it, could you, comic? You couldn't just not have Miss Wilson telling the kids about some friggin' surprise thing. Besides, not like you didn't already have one with the two friggin' superheroes presenting them with tiny electronics they can't afford. No. You just have to pile it on. Hell, it's not even a surprise at this point. Supergirl's just gonna teach them some more about the TRS-80. It's not a surprise anymore, Miss Wilson! Supergirl doesn't want to reteach them things they already know, so she asks for some volunteers to demonstrate some of the functions of the TRS-80 they've already learned. And you can imagine who volunteers. Let me guess. Alec and Shanna, right? Superman warned me it wouldn't take long to notice you two, although it'd be hard not to in those outfits. Seriously, Alec? Stripes with a pullover that also has a big stripe? Yeesh. Anyway, they demonstrate the information service they could use at the time, same as we've seen before. Amazing as it sounds, the TRS-80 color computer and Interface 2 turn any color TV set into a two-way information retrieval system. Yes, it's two-way information retrieval. You look up information for a book report, they look up information on your personal life for the government. Why, with TRS-80 videotechs, we could even play a chess tournament with a rival school over 1,000 miles away via an information service. We can yell derogatory, racist, and sexist insults at each other when we lose. Imagine having a public library that never closes right in your home or office. Never sleep again, kids! Or volumes of stock market data, instantly at your fingertips. Manipulate the market to your whims. Or picture a continuously updated newspaper you never have to step outside to fetch from your doorstep. Become forever sheltered from the outside world. The day ball burns your eyes, children. Or even a low-cost electronic mail service. Why, here's a message from a Nigerian prince now. Again, it is fascinating to see how pretty much all of these predictions came true. Predicting the future is often difficult at best and laughably off the mark at worst. From the 50s and 60s, assuming we'd all have our own personal helicopters on the moon base, to even just assuming mini-discs would be the next big storage method when even VCRs eventually outlived it. So while Supergirl may have gotten the method of all these things wrong, she does accurately predict that all this stuff would be available by computers in a few years, even suggesting online shopping, travel or entertainment reservations done online, etc. Although in reality, we mostly use it for porn. After a few more minutes of demonstration on how to set it all up, they decide to compare the speed of how long it'll take to get information on a certain subject. Superman went off to deal with a threat from Lex Luthor, but let's pretend we know nothing about Luthor. I'll use my superpowers to find out Luthor's story. You use videotechs. You know, for being the special guest star of the comic, Supergirl is kind of carrying this whole thing. Supergirl's flying away at super speed. Hurry, Shanna! I've typed in the access code for information retrieval from the Daily Planet, Alec. It says Luthor really likes giving Jolly Ranchers to people. They, of course, look up information at the same speed Kara manages to do it with her powers, but enough about that. It turns out Miss Wilson did have a big surprise. A field trip. I did this book to break away from the friggin' formula. They're like the Borg. These Whiz Kids comics assimilate each other until they're all the same being. But whatever, they're heading over to the Museum of Science and Industry, where Supergirl is supposed to join them, but Superman had earlier asked her to handle his patrol of the area if he got tied up elsewhere. As such, she runs into a house that's emitting strange microwaves from an antenna. She goes to switch them off since they're dangerous, but the house's solar panels suddenly shift from yellow to red. Damn you, Rod from Birdemic! Also, I'm pretty sure solar panels do not work that way. With the red sun radiation disabling her, she falls into a conveniently placed trapdoor that opens up and catches her. Congratulations, Luthor! If she was flying 2 feet to the right, whatever your plan was would have failed miserably. Back over to the museum, blah 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 transistors, blah 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 miniaturization, blah 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 Dick Sprang Memorial via giant keyboard the kids can walk on. And of course, they all just write the word penis a million times on a giant screen. Far out! It looks like we've stepped into a movie set from Star Wars! Ah yes, that iconic scene from Star Wars when Darth Vader wrote a love letter to Grand Moff Tarkin on his giant keyboard. But yeah, that goes on for a couple more pages while Miss Wilson is conferring privately with Superman, called it Secret Relationship, about how Supergirl still hasn't shown up. Realizing something must have happened to her on her patrol, he flies out to try to find her. Over to Supergirl herself, she awakens in a rather comfortable-looking lounge, all things considered. She tries to see through the walls and smash her way out, but both abilities fail. She figures the solar panels are also beaming red sun radiation into the place too, keeping her powers disabled. Something about double P's and dice on the door. They're starting to look vaguely familiar to me. Of course! It's the Pink Panthers Casino! And now I'm hearing footsteps from the other side of the door, followed by the sound of a creaking chair. Without my super hearing, I can't be absolutely certain, but there's a guard posted outside this door, sitting down and turning through what sounds like the pages of a magazine. Supergirl, that's a broom closet. She finds another door, and after not hearing anyone on the other side of it, fashions a paperclip into a lockpick. It takes her several hours, but she manages to get the door open and enters a room containing several electronics and some pinball machines. Looks like I've walked into some kind of plush game room. This place is a virtual palace of all the latest electronic equipment and gadgetry. Ooh, there's an Atari 2600! Best kidnapping ever! She realizes the PP stands for Purple Palace, something she had read recently in some headlines, but can't recall what it was referring to. She decides to use the TRS-80 to try to look up some information. She acknowledges why she can't just call the police for help, that she can't prove she's Supergirl over the phone. Fair enough, though I'd imagine just staying on the line would allow them to trace the call, and they'd probably send someone out to investigate more closely. But no, instead she calls up the friggin' school for help, where Miss Wilson is... Wait. And before we tackle the next equation, can anyone tell me? They're doing math! Stop the presses, people! They're doing something else in this classroom besides computers or drug abuse! I don't know what's real anymore! But then again, considering how dead-eyed the children are, they probably zoned out a while ago and all they hear is Tandy, Tandy, Tandy. Miss Wilson answers the phone and recognizes Supergirl's voice, and instead of having them call Superman or relay information to the police, she's having the kids looking up info on the Purple Palace. Oh, and let's not spare us the procedure of setting up the connection to the information service. It's only a tense situation with potential consequences for Supergirl. The computer wants the password, so type in Metro 5, but that will not show on the screen. It's a secret code. I'm afraid you'll have to die now to preserve the secret. The Purple Palace was an illegal gambling operation, and the information in the news articles is relayed to Supergirl so she can hopefully use it to escape. Conveniently, though, Superman shows up in the classroom to report his failure in finding her. They get him up to speed, and he flies off to the Purple Palace. Go for it, Superman! Yeah, tell the bad guys Alex sent you! In prisons, there is a horror story spread to all the inmates about the one who will someday take them in their sleep. Take them into a digital domain of color and secret codes, of information systems and pocket computers. The one known as Alec. Superman arrives at the place and quickly figures out what happened, but before he can try to bust in, Supergirl exits out from some rocks. Turns out a detail in a news story about the Purple Palace revealed how there was a secret tunnel behind one of the machines in the game room, and she was able to use it to escape. Superman was completely unnecessary to this story. They spot some of the goons in a purple car and quickly pick it up, realizing that they're all members of Luthor's gang. Of course, his plan was to kidnap Superman, and that would be how he'd make Superman be his accomplice in freeing him from prison. Totally makes sense. Brilliant strategy.
You magnificent bastard, I read your book!
No, but seriously, what was the plan exactly? He couldn't have known Supergirl would be the one flying that way, so it couldn't have been for a hostage thing. Maybe after the fact, but not when he set the plan up. He couldn't threaten Superman with imprisonment unless he was released. He'd never do it anyway. What was his plan? In any event, the goons are smart enough to not try shooting at our heroes and are carried off to the police. Later, Superman and Supergirl are explaining all this to the kids, saying they also went to tell Luthor his plan, whatever it was, didn't work. Naturally, I didn't tell him how I escaped. He have years, nice grammar error, behind bars to wonder about that. Even if I told him the truth, he'd probably never believe his scheme was done in by a class of 6th graders, who gained a victory with the help of microcomputers. Okay, points for the title actually making sense this time around. But honestly, victory by computers could describe most of these comics. And so our comic ends with the Whiz Kids saying that between them, the superheroes, and the computers, they make a pretty sensational super team. Alec and Shanna would later join the Justice League and upstage every member, including Batman. This comic sucks. And yet, this is actually one of the better Whiz Kids comics. It's still terrible, with a nonsensical plot, boring and lengthy expositions about computers and the history of electronics. Most of this has been covered already by the other books, but at least the ability to look up information like that proved useful. I don't even know where this Purple Palace thing comes from. Never heard of it before, and a quick Google search didn't bring up anything about it in relation to the regular comics. But whatever, Supergirl is the real star of this one. But somehow Superman gets top billing. The plot is stupid, but the Whiz Kids aren't as irritating or mind-numbing as they would be in other stories. In addition, gotta love the blatant advertising for the pocket computer, which didn't even factor into the plot in any way whatsoever. Neither did the museum, in fact. Next time, Star Trek's 50th anniversary looms, and we're gonna do something about it with a crossover between that series and Green Lantern.
Sitting on my couch reviewing comics, the worst words that you will ever see. It's sad that comic books are for geeks, but they're not. They're for everybody. If you doubt that I am a man, I am a man.
And so I said to Sierra, "That's no moon. That's your motherboard."
I've got it!
You've got what?
The puzzle, I think we've got it.
Great. What does it say?
Well, to be accurate, Erin thinks she solved how it works. I'm gonna have Nimue solve for this, and we'll see what happens from there.
What puzzle?
A 90s kid once traveled into the future and brought back a message with him, but it's in some kind of code.
And 90s kid is the 20-something pretending to be a teenager?
I don't know what you're talking about, but the one in the orange hat.
Yeah, him. I haven't seen him around very much.
Anyway, that's enough backstory. It's time for exposition. I was half right. The world is at 0, 6, and 7, meaning you're supposed to take the letters from under those numbers.
But you said it made too many possibilities with those letters.
Ah, yes, but then I showed the puzzle to Erin.
The thief lady. I like her coat. I want a coat.
Focus, please. She explained to me that the Babylonians didn't have a concept of the number 0. And since one of the phrases is, "the Babylonians knew the truth," you just exclude any of the letters that fall under 0, which gives us a slightly more limited range to work with.
It's a sound theory, but we don't know for certain that's it.
Yep, only one way to find out. Nimue!
Confirmed.
Have you heard everything I just said?
This unit has been listening. Processing has begun.
Once you've processed all those letters, rearrange them into a sentence. Now, if this was a message meant for me, then it's most likely something I would recognize right away. So put at the top the most likely message that would be meant for me given, who I am.
Processing. Analyzing. Printout ready.
Okay, let's see it. Alright, the most likely possibility is a... Nimue, teleport us up to Comicron 1. Now! Now! Get everyone else up here! Once they're aboard, shields up and red alert!
Linkara, what the hell is going on?
This unit was able to transport all relevant figures except for the one known as 90s Kid.
Well, of course you couldn't find him. Kid, what the hell is happening? We have to find it. Oh, we gotta find Vice too. Damn it, I knew it was too easy!
Linkara, would you please enlighten us as to what's going on?
What was the message?